Hi everyone. I just finished watching a Stefan Molyneux video where he talks about the pop star Pink and her saying that she believes that the current PC stuff about people not spanking their kids is hogwash, and she thinks that parents need to be able to beat their kids. In fact, that it's important that they do so. The only reason she's even around is because her dad, quote unquote, put her through a wall when she was younger. Now, there's a point that I think Stefan Molyneux didn't focus on in his video, probably because it wasn't germane to the points that he was trying to make, but it's something that I think is important. And it's something that I see quite often when I'm discussing spanking and corporal punishment with people on Facebook in different areas where the people are supportive of parents spanking children. And that is... there seems to be this reverence that adult children have for their parents and the corporal punishment they received when they were children, and a lack of questioning of the virtue of their upbringing itself and the corporal punishment, and an analysis of the behavior that they would say they exhibited, which was what brought on the spanking. The spanking is always a reaction to their behavior, and their behavior comes from their own bad selves. I think even Pink said something in one of her interviews that she was just bad. And this is something I think that's dangerous. I think it's unfortunate. And I'm not sure where it comes from. If it comes from a place within us that we depend on our parents for our very survival when we're young. And so to question them, even as adults, is very difficult for us, to question their virtue and question the validity of the things that they said and did. I've struggled with this myself. But, of course, I think it's very important. For instance, I've got a daughter. I've never, ever spanked her, not one single time. I yelled at her once, and I apologized for it later because I had no right. She didn't deserve that. I had no right to. I mean, it was a yell, and I had no right. She's turned out just fine. I ventured to say that I don't think she would turn out as fine if I was a spanking parent. Now, that's anecdotal, I realize, but so are these cases. So in other words, Pink has said that she thinks that parents not only have the right to, but actually should beat the crap out of their kids. That's her words. Based on her experience, that she wouldn't be around today if her dad hadn't done that to her. Well, again, that's anecdotal. But the defense of spanking seems to end with her being a bad kid, yet in her own songs, which Molyneux alludes to in his video, she talks about love being like World War III and not wanting to have love destroy her like it destroyed her family. Her parents divorced when she was 7. Clearly they divorced after a long period of conflict and strife and World War III. And none of that, she doesn't give herself any credit for having been a product of that situation. Right? She talks about how she got in, she was smoking by whatever, age 9 or something, and doing different drugs early and got kicked out of the house at 15. She doesn't seem to, it's like she's got this correlation causation thing. Her dad spanked her and she was bad, her dad spanked her and she's still around, therefore spanking is good. She doesn't have any correlation though, she doesn't draw any correlation between her completely abusive, disruptive, chaotic family life and her behavior as a child that she labels as bad, right? And that, that's obviously a failing on her parents' part to provide her a stable and loving and peaceful home environment, and that possibly her dad having to beat the crap out of her, as she put it, was just sort of more of the same. And it was no more virtuous than the chaos that led to her delinquency and stuff in the first place. And I see this quite often. I argue with people or to discuss with people on Facebook about spanking and about peaceful and philosophical parenting and about mirroring empathy with your children and all these different things that I think are important. And quite often, these same anecdotes are brought forth. That, well, if my dad hadn't beat the crap out of me, I would have turned out this way. I was doing these bad things, etc., etc. But I also know a little bit about the family background there, and it's not all sunshine and roses. And I just thought it was important to point that out, that something that Stefan Molyneux didn't. He took his video in a different direction, and I think that was positive. But I think it's important to address what's not being addressed, what's not being analyzed in that situation. It's like the discussion starts with, I was a bad kid. And the discussion doesn't delve into why that might possibly be the case. I don't believe personally that there's any such thing as bad kids. I think there's a possibility that we may have some chemical imbalances and different things like that that can cause people to misbehave. And I think that, obviously that's not bad, right? That is, if we're going to be rational human beings, we have to recognize that that's no different than someone having a heart condition. It's just affecting a different part of their body. And I think there are kids that act out in ways that are reflective of the home environment that they're in. And one of the big ones I see, and I think this is where a lot of times people experiment with drugs and different things and have maybe even a problem with authority figures, is when they view their home environment as vulnerable. And it may not be a conscious thing. I think a lot of kids, they have a deep down recognition that they can't be in control, that they can't manage their own life. And that they damn well better have some people around that can, some people that are in charge and in control. And when the parents in your world are exhibiting a lack of control, a lack of calm and conscious and rational control over their lives and yours, through chaos and conflict and strife and poor management and irresponsibility on their part, I think it sends kids into a tailspin. And they may not consciously be aware of why, but what's happening is there's a recognition at a fundamental level that they're not safe. That the people who are supposed to be in control fucking aren't. And I think that's obviously very damaging to kids. And I don't think they know how to process it. And it comes out in different ways. And quite often it's in ways that are sometimes even maybe perhaps designed to garner some attention. Hey, need some help here. The people who are supposed to be looking after me are fucking crazy, or whatever, right? And so I just wanted to put that forth, that it's interesting to me that the correlation for Pink would start at her being a bad kid, and that it's a good thing her dad beat the crap out of her. And it didn't go just a little bit further back and ask the question, why was she doing those things? And could it possibly have been a result of some of the chaos and the lack of solid foundation that she had as a child? Thanks everyone for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments section, as always.